So now that I'm not, like, getting murdered by a mini-boss, let me redo this real quick. Let me restate all of this in a more coherent way. So, like I said, I mean, you have this front page thing on Smashboards, you know, the return is, you know, is this the return of wave dashing? And it's not. Like, we know it's not. And it just really, like, this is Brawl 2.0, and I don't mean, like, what the game is, I mean it's what the community is doing. They're like, okay, we have this new game, we're gonna move on, and it's gonna be great. And then you have a bunch of people who are like, this game is not as fun competitively as Melee. And that statement is true. I mean, obviously it's an opinion statement. I would be willing to say that the game, I'm willing to say without question, Smash 4 is not as good of a competitive game as Melee is, but whether or not you have fun with it is a whole nother thing. But, like I'm saying, you're having a bunch of people who are like, this, like, we don't want this. We don't want a worse competitive game. We want, you know, the best competitive game we can have, and that's Melee. So, now you've got a bunch of people who, you know, they really want to play Smash 4. But they also really want people to move on from Melee, which is weird to me. But that's the thing. So they're trying to, like, convince people that there is a reason to move on to Melee, from Melee to Smash 4. And they're doing it in a really stupid way. So, like, you discover this tech. People talk about quote-unquote perfect pivoting, which is retarded. That game, that already had a name that was pivoting. And even more so, it existed in Brawl. You didn't discover it, it's always been there. But I'm saying, but, like, it's one of those things where it's like, we have this technique. See, our game is deep too. Except for it's not. Perfect pivoting does, like, first off, perfect pivoting isn't particularly useful, as compared to a lot of other things you can do. Like, the reverse aerial rush from Brawl that, you know, moved on to Smash 4 is, like, more useful overall than that anyway. But you have these people, like, looking at their game, and they're literally saying, we're going to make this game like Melee to prove to you that it's better than Melee. And that's not going to happen. What you should be doing is saying, we have Smash 4, it is different, it may not be as good competitively, but we really like it and we want to play it. That is what they should be saying. That is what they should be doing. They should not be trying to convince Melee players to move on from their game to this game, because it's not going to happen. It's not as good. That's just the truth. And it's sort of causing them to look at these techniques the wrong way, too. They're discovering these quote-unquote techs, and the reason, like, they're getting so much attention is because they're trying to convince people to move on. But that's really dumb, because a lot of these techs are really useless. Like, they're actually not useful. Like I said, a lot of stuff's from Brawl, so a lot of the stuff we already know about, and that stuff's not going to convince anyone to move on. But, like, their new pivot sliding thing, like, that is not going to make people to move on from Melee. That slide does not have anywhere near as much of the utility that wave dashing had. It's not particularly easy to perform. For anyone who knows how to wave dash in Smash, it's not very hard. The frame window is kind of small. Like, you're looking at, you know, the fast characters, the fast jumping characters, like Fox, Kirby. They have 3 frames before 3 frames after you press the jump button while they're still on the ground. Then they're in the air 4th frame. So the earliest you can start a wave dash, and the best, quote-unquote the best, time to do it, is 4th frame. So, like, that's really fast. But a lot of characters, the majority, have more frames than that. And it's really a muscle memory thing more than anything else. It's not a particularly difficult thing to do. The pivot slide in Smash 4 is much more like frame intensive. You have a single frame to let go of the controller, and even then, it's not really that useful. Like, what you can do out of that, what you can do with that is limited. So it's really like, why is all of this attention being given to this technique? Well, all of this attention is being given to this technique because they're trying to pretend it's something like akin to, like, they're trying to pretend their game is suddenly becoming as competitive as Melee is, when it's not. Or rather, not even competitive, but, like, they're trying to prove that their game has as many, like, techniques I don't want to say competitive, because competitive has way too many layers beyond just like single techniques and stuff like that. But it was the same thing with what they're calling perfect pivoting, which is just pivoting. It's the same thing with dash dancing. They like to pretend that dash dancing still exists in their game. Let me point something out to you guys. Every character's dash dance in Smash 4 is smaller overall than Sheik's dash dance in Melee. And no one uses Sheik's dash dance in Melee because it's so small and useless. Numberman, okay. This isn't like a Smash community thing though. This is the Smash community is not like this is not indicative of the Smash community. This is a bunch of new players who are joining the community or coming in for Smash 4. The same thing that happened with Brawl, where people are like, you know, this is the game I want to play. This is the game I'm going to play. I really like this game. And then they get sort of like angry when they find out there's a bunch of people who don't like their game. There's a bunch they want to prove to Melee players that their game is as good or better than Melee. Like I said, this happened with Brawl. We had the same thing. We had a huge influx of people come in 2008. And they all wanted to play Brawl. And at this, like, as they're coming in, all of the Melee players already figured out that Brawl was not good. Like, it took me about a week to decide that I was not going to be playing Brawl, like, at all after I bought it. And so now they're angry, and now they want to prove something, and they try, and then arguments happen and stuff like that. At this point, though, now, look, I want to point this, like, I want to say this. Now we're, you know, 6 years removed from Brawl being released, and the Brawl community, like the people who played Brawl, or even the people who still play Brawl, they've all chilled the fuck out. They understand, like, Brawl has all of these problems. They understand that Brawl is not as good as Melee. The people who still want to play Brawl just play Brawl, and the people who don't. There's not, like, a lot of huge problems between the communities anymore. Obviously, the Melee community joke is still that Brawl sucks, and it does. But, like, it doesn't, like, if there's a Brawl, there's not a lot of Brawl tournaments anymore. When there were Brawl and Melee tournaments together, like, you weren't gonna see a lot of people shit-talking Brawl or anything like that, because they didn't care. They just, like, they came to play their games, came to play your games. That's all there was to it. Now we're getting that again. We're getting a bunch of people in for Smash 4 who aren't part of the Melee community, who are trying to break into the Melee community, or not Melee community, I'm sorry, the Smash community. We're trying to break into the Smash community, and they're seeing this happen again, and they're like, it's like, yeah, this game, like, we don't like it. And then they just get angry about it. They want, like, they're gonna prove something. And that's how you end up with all of this attention being given to stupid stuff, like these completely worthless techniques. That's why you see videos like VGC Bootcamp was uploading, that Gimmer made. And, you know, all the love to Gimmer, because Gimmer is, like, just an amazing person in general. He works so hard for the Smash community. But, like, he makes these videos where he's, like, showing off quote-unquote combos from Smash 4. That most of them aren't, like, true combos. Most of them are, and I don't even mean, like, true combos in the fact that, like, they're actual just hit strings. I mean, it's like, I hit you onto the ground, and because Smash 4 still has the same stupid, like, jab lock system that existed in Brawl, I can just keep hitting you with the same move over and over and over again. And there's nothing you can do about it. Another reason Brawl sucks, and another reason that Smash 4 isn't that good. But, like, you have all of this attention being given to things like that. They're like, look, we have this. It's like, okay, you have that. That's not really impressive, though. And you should know that. Especially Gimmer should know that. But Gimmer was, you know, a Brawl player, so he doesn't really mind that. Like, he understands that that's how the game worked out, and, like, he's okay with it. But I'm just saying, like, that is not something that should be getting a bunch of attention. That's just sort of, you know, your game being your game. Not being particularly interesting either. If I was still on Smash 4, or Smash Boards right now, like, if I still frequented it, like I used to, I would probably do what I did when Brawl came out, and I'd probably just ignore the vast majority of people posting from 2008. That sounds like a really dick move. I just let Charlotte die. That sounds like a really dick move, but it was. I mean, like, we had a lot of people coming in for Brawl, and a lot of people being like, "Why don't you like Brawl? Or, Brawl's not bad." Or, Brawl is a different type of game that requires this or requires that Melee doesn't do. I'm like, nah, you're just wrong. And then, of course, you got the people who are moving in, you know, they're moving into Melee asking the same questions that have been asked a billion times. They're like, why is this character good? Or why does a tier list exist? Tiers don't exist. I'd probably just ignore them until like 2 or 3 years later when they figured out everything. They chilled the fuck out. But yeah, this is just sort of just like a repeat of the Brawl thing, like just a bunch of people joining in, not having any idea what's going on. They have no actual knowledge of Melee, like of Melee's past or anything like that, nor do they have any knowledge of Brawl's past, which is why they think a lot of the stuff they're discovering is important or big or anything like that, and it's not. The thing that gets me too is, like, in theory, the Smash 4 community has, you know, a bunch of veterans in it, like people, like, you know, Brawl veterans who you know, just moved on because even Smash 4 is better than Brawl. Sorry, it's true. I really don't like Brawl. But they should understand that these things are not going to fix the main problems of your game. These are like random little texts and random little things you find. Your game is not suddenly going to become much better than it was. Unless, you know, someone finds a way to find a glitch that adds hit stun in. But they should know not to, like, try and hype things that don't matter. They should know that they shouldn't get into arguments about why their game needs to be taken seriously and stuff like that. What they should do is just play their fucking game. Oh, god damn it! Really, it noticed me. Like, they seem to care about it. They want to play it, so just fucking play it, please. Don't waste time pretending like your useless techniques are really useful, specifically to try and convince people to play your game. Just play the game. If people are going to see your game, and if they're going to want to play it, they'll play it. Melee survived like this for fucking 13 years, okay? If your game is really worth playing, if you really think people are going to stick to your game, if you really want to play your game, just play it. People will watch it and think, holy shit, this is cool, I want to play it. Don't focus on this worthless stuff. These absolutely useless techniques, these absolutely, like, pointless things. Just play your game. That's all there really is to it.